what is on the agenda, right? First, we'll try to understand what is the importance of good portfolio and good resume, right? This has been, I was focusing only on portfolio, but last week, some of the teammates, some of our colleagues have said that they also want to understand how to write a good resume. So I'm including that as well. So first point, we'll try to understand what is the importance of a good portfolio and good resume. Then number two, we'll talk about how to create a good portfolio. Number three, how to create good resume. Then we'll talk about some important points to remember while preparing the portfolio and resume. And then five, I'll give you a practical use case or case studies so that you can solve that and have that in your portfolio. All right, it's going to be interesting. Okay, so let's jump in. So first thing is the importance of good portfolio and good resume. Why do we need not just a portfolio but a good portfolio as well as good resume? Why there is a need for that, right? First thing is it is the gateway to the industry. If you have this is a tech industry, right? And we are working as a UX designer or UI designer or a researcher. Whenever you're applying a job in this industry, the first thing they will ask for is a portfolio, right? So portfolio and good resume are your gateway to this industry. So you have to make sure that your portfolios are, top class. Okay, so the first one, gateway to the industry, it is the first touch point or first point of contact for you with the industry. Hence, it is prime important that you should have a good portfolio and good resume to get inside this industry. Number two, 1/500 job versus applicant ratio. In this industry, generally, when there is one job opening, there are 500 plus people applied for it. That's huge. And because of that, the hiring managers don't really get good amount of time to spend in each of the portfolio. Hence, it is important that your portfolios, and your resumes are good. All right. By glance to it, the hiring manager should understand what he or she is going to get inside that portfolio. So because of this huge competition, it is highly important that your portfolio should not just be a portfolio, it should be a good portfolio as well as good resume. Okay, huge competition. And you will only stand out if you have a good portfolio. Average portfolio will just go to the dustbin, as simple as that. Okay, so you need to have a good portfolio. Number three, a good portfolio will help you showcase your skills upfront, right? So as I told you that it's a gateway to the industry, right? And by the time you reach to an interview stage, people or your portfolio will be shortlisted, right, by some hiring people or by HR people, right, human resource people. So you need to have a good portfolio so that the people who are filtering you out should understand what skills do you got, what skills do you have. Okay, therefore it is very important that you should have a good portfolio, not just average portfolio. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and try to understand how to create a good portfolio. What are the things we have to take care of? Okay, or how do you define a good portfolio? First, a good portfolio doesn't require to be a personalized website. I've told this many times to many people and a lot of newbies or newcomers to the industry. I've told this many times. Do not spend your time creating a website for yourself, right? Portfolio can just be a PDF. Portfolio can just be a Behance, a Behance portfolio, which is free of cost, right? You can use that. Do not spend too much of your time creating a personalized website for yourself. That's a huge loss of time. You can utilize that time creating a more impactful use cases or case studies for your portfolio. All right. So do not worry about what source or what format of portfolio you require. A simple PDF or to the most, Behance works best for this. Okay. First one. Number two, a good portfolio hook the viewers. The moment I look at the portfolio, it should hook me. I'll tell you how you can do that. The moment I open up the portfolio, it should hook me. It should make me a feeling. It should give me a feeling that I should read the entire case study. Okay, a good portfolio follows a good anatomy. Your portfolio should follow good anatomy. I'll show you in next slide how the structure of the portfolio should look like, or specifically not portfolio, specifically your case studies. Okay. Next is a good portfolio is aesthetically pleasing. Your portfolio should look good. Now you will say that I am a UX researcher. How does it matters to me? So if you're a UX researcher, what you can do is you can collaborate with some of your colleagues who are good with UI, user interface design. Right? There's a plus point here. You should mention that in your case study that I have collaborated with one of my friends who is a UI designer. That is again a plus for you. Why? Because it's showing your collaboration skills. Right? So always try to create portfolio which are aesthetically pleasing. If you are not capable of it, for example, you are the information architecture or you are a researcher, then you take help from one of your UI designer to make your portfolio looks good. Okay. Number 5, a good portfolio consists of only relevant case studies. I've seen portfolios, where they have case studies or projects which is way back years ago, which they have created years ago. Irrelevant, right? They have created some kind of logos or some kind of graphic design that those projects are also there in portfolio. And I, as a hiring manager, will go there and get lost as to what I have to check, right? Which project I have to check. And hence, it is highly advisable, as I always say, is that you should only have 2 projects to a maximum 3 projects. Okay, and remove all the irrelevant case studies or projects inside your portfolio, from your portfolio. Okay. 6, a good portfolio consists of real case studies, right? The case studies which you do are real case study, a real pain point, not just a fictitious problem which you have created, right? But what I mean by this is it should be realistic, not real, but it should be realistic, right? We should be able to relate. For example, a hiring manager should be able to relate that with their own product or with any kind of product. Okay, cool. Next, a good portfolio is 100% aligned with your aspiration. Your portfolio should be aligned with your aspiration. I have told this, I have explained this in earlier session also, that your portfolio should be aligned with your aspiration. Whatever your aspiration is, that has to reflect in your portfolio. I've seen, many people, many designers who are UI designers, and their aspiration are UI designer, and their portfolio, they are showing a huge amount of research work. It is good, right? But I want to see real screens, or hiring manager want to see real screens instead of all those research things for a UI designer, right? So it should match with your aspiration. Cool. A good portfolio showcase almost all your skills. Every project in your portfolio should showcase all the skills you got. Okay, so these 8 things has to be there. If you have all these 8 things checked, your portfolio becomes a good portfolio. Now, the question might be, how do we structure the portfolio so that it looks good, so it become a good portfolio? So let's talk about the structure of a good portfolio. How does a good portfolio structure itself? Right. The first one, start with the case study overview, and by defining your aspiration, very important. Right. So first, you start with the overview of this case study. Why you are doing this, right? What is the purpose of doing this case study, and what is your role into this case study? If you're collaborating with a lot of different people, right? You are collaborating with a research guy, you're collaborating with your psychologist, or you're collaborating with anybody, right? And if you're a UI designer, mention that. Okay, start with the case study, and then case study overview, and then define your aspiration. Next, jump into the problem statement. Explain the problem statement. After you given the overview and defining your aspiration, then you come to problem statement. right? Explain the problem statement. Here you have to very carefully understand this. There is a technique called framing, right? Um, so I'll give you two examples of this, how this framing works. Okay, first is you're saying there is no water in the tap. That's a problem statement, for example, right? This is one example. The other is there is no water in the tap and the user feeling thirsty. So I've just added a punch, or I have just added some context to it. Obviously, the second one look more weightage, right? Because the first one doesn't give any context. The second one does give a context. So your framing of problem statement should be like the second one with the good proper context. Okay, so you frame your problem statement, or the best way to do it is like you take a problem statement, frame it for 5-6 times, right, and get it tested with user. Does the user understand the problem statement? Right, you can do that. Next up is show that the problem is real. Okay, whatever problem statement you're solving, first try to show that yes, this is a genuine problem. Show that. So do some research on that problem. So I've wrote it down also. Research to validate the hypothesis. Whatever problem statement you have, right? You have to do research to validate, okay, this problem is real. You have to do research for that to understand the problem statement is real or not. Okay, so but on 3 you have to show that the problem is real. Then explain your process which you are going to apply to solve the problem. Now now you have to explain the entire process. Okay, how are you going to solve this problem? Okay, and then you have to explain each of these stages in detail as what you have done in each of this process, to get an outcome or satisfactory outcome under each of the stages. Next, so the result, you have to validate, you have to give them, you have to show with number that earlier to this, right, earlier to this the number was this much amount of people were dropping out. Now we have changed. So 70% was dropping out, now it's 50% people who are dropping out. So there's 20% win. There's 20% win after this solution is implemented. So show this kind of result in your case studies. Okay, so show the result. The last one is conclude. Provide a conclusion as to what you have learned, what were the learnings, right? What are the key takeaways from this project? Okay, so this is how the structure should be, to become a project, to become a good project, to good portfolio. Okay, so we'll move on. Next up is how to create a good resume. We have talked about portfolio. Resume and portfolio go hands in hand, right? First of all, when you apply for a job, they will always ask you for a good resume, right? And inside your resume, there has to be a link for your portfolio. That's how they go hands in hand, right? Right. So a good resume is designed to skim content, right? So your resume should be easy to jump, or easy to find things quickly. For example, if I'm looking for an education qualification, I should be easily, that information can be easily skimmed, and I can know, okay, there is an education here. Let me see how educated this guy is, or this person is. So it should be easily skimmable. Okay. Next, a good resume is precise, right? Maximum, it is awesome if you have just 1 page of resume, but if you want some more detail to be put in, 2 page to 3 page maximum. Okay, try to make your resume as precise as possible. Do not write entire history into your resume. Okay, it needs to be precise, it needs to be smaller. A good resume follows a good anatomy. Now again, I'm going to talk about the structure in the next page as to how the structure should look like and what are the structure you should follow to, so that the resume become a good resume. And good resume is aesthetically pleasing again, right? So you can take help of your UI designer and tell them to design a resume for you. Here, what I mean is not zazzy background. Okay, I'm talking about the hierarchy which has to be defined, the color of the headers, for example, the colors of the subtext. How does you want to structure it? So a researcher might lack this skills. So researcher can always take help from a UI designer and can design a resume for themselves. Okay, cool. So what should be the structure? How should be the structure of a good resume? Okay, so structure of good resume. First, start with your contact information. First, you show your contact information, your mobile number, and then your email ID. You can have your photo on the left hand side, or however you want to structure it. And you should have a good photo there, and you should have a good name and your designation at the top. Right. Start with that contact information. Then uh, provide a summary of your achievements. What you have done till now. What are your achievements in just max to 3 lines only. Just provide a summary of what you have done. Okay, and then put your skills. Third part is you have to list down what are the skills you have. Okay, and then on the number 4 part, you have to provide your experience. If you have experience, you should put it there. Okay, where you have worked earlier, what are the roles you've been into, that you can put in there. And then educations, how educated you are, you can put there. And then portfolio and other work related links, and then you have to provide your portfolio links and other links which you want to share with your hiring manager, that you can put it there. And the last is hobbies. Just explain your hobbies, what you do in your free time. But it should not be like, I chit chat with friends, or I watch TVs, all those stuffs. Make something concrete, or make something, put something interesting there, like studying books, business books, fiction books, something which attract or which showcase your passion toward design. Okay, cool. We'll move on next. Okay, so now let's understand some important points to remember while preparing the portfolio and resume. Right, these are the things which you should always remember while preparing your portfolio and resume. First, treat your portfolio and resume as a project. As a project, okay? So you should treat it as exactly as a life project, right? You should do research. You should do proper research, right? Who are my target audience? Obviously, hiring managers. They don't have time. They are going to skim your content. They're going to just look it for 5 to 7 seconds. Does your portfolio has the ability to catch that attention? Right? You should always understand what are the things you have to take care of. Just treat it as a project, right? Iterate, create a design, and just try to ask your mentor, or just take feedback from your mentor as to how does the resume look like, how does the portfolio look like, do you have any feedback for me? You can ask your mentor to do that, and they can provide you feedback and iterate on that, right, until you get a satisfactory answers from your mentors. Okay, so first, treat your projects and resume as a project. Next, make your portfolio and resume jargon free. Okay, remember, your portfolio is fine, but your resume are going to be filtered. First, might be by a machine. Okay, second, it might be from someone from HR team who doesn't understand about design. Okay, next up, keep your resume design as minimum as possible. Very important. This line is very important. Okay, what I've seen people creates the resume in a very zazzy way, and it just distract from the entire meaning of a resume. Resume should give me a glance as to what this person does, right? An overview of this person. And if you put a lot of content inside it, a lot of colors, a lot of graphics elements inside it, the whole meaning will get lost. So always keep your resume as minimum as possible, and show your kick-ass color and type skills in your portfolio. That's where you show your skills. Here, keep it as minimum as possible in your resume. Next up, make sure all the hyperlinks in the resume and in the portfolio are working before you share it. Okay, all the links which you have shared, it should be live. It's a bad impression that whatever you have shared and the link inside that resume or portfolio is not working. That's a bad impression. Okay, so make sure that every links inside it is working. Number 5, make it public. Whatever portfolio, whatever projects you are working into, or whatever case studies you have, make it public. There's an advantage of making it public. First, that anybody can look at your projects, and there might be people who might be looking for a candidate, right? And they just came across your portfolio somehow out of the blue moon. Somebody had shared it. They should be able to watch it. They should be able to review your portfolio and resume there itself, right? Do not put any kind of lock in your projects. I've seen it happens a lot. You know, um, some candidates had shared me some kind of portfolios, and their portfolios were locked. I have to ask for a password. Believe me, this happened to me. Okay, so make it public. Do not worry about people stealing your content. It's obvious everybody's stealing. Okay, you're not stealing the idea, so but we do take inspiration for every other designers, right? So don't be ashamed. Make it public. Okay. So these are the 5 things which you should always keep in mind while preparing for a portfolio and resume. Okay, so awesome. That's been cleared up. Now, interesting. I'm going to give you a practical case study to add to your portfolio. This case study, I'll explain you the scenario as well as I'll give you a problem statement to solve. What you can do is you can solve this. You can prepare entire case studies on this problem statement. And if you can remember, this is the opportunity for every of that 30 people who got selected. They will be able to get, they will get an opportunity to be in touch with me one-to-one to review these case studies live with me. Okay. And for those who are not selected, for those 30 people and who will be watching this portfolio or this video in YouTube, you can show your portfolio or case studies to your mentor and take feedback from your mentor. Okay, so with that, I'll show you the problem statement which we have. So case study is, assume that you are a part of an e-commerce company products team. Okay, so you are a part of a product team in an e-commerce company who takes care of buying experience of its customer. So your job is to define the experience, the buying experience. Okay, now the problem statement comes in. Recently, your team has observed that 70% of your user are dropping out in checkout page. 70% of people are dropping out in your checkout page. After initial research, you along with the entire team found out that most of your users are mostly confused about what size will work best for them, and hence they are dropping out. So they are not sure as to if the size which they have chosen will work best for them. And then because of this concern, they are dropping out. All right, this is the problem statement. This is the scenario. Now go create your case study. Remember, you should take care of this while preparing for this problem statement. First, you should start with the case study. Second, explain the problem statement. Show that problem statement is real. So you have to validate if this problem is real or not. How do you validate it, right? So you have to show your research skills also. Explain your process that you will apply to solve this problem, and show what you did in each stage of the process, and then show results. So show numbers also. How much of percentage you will be able to reduce, or what are the numbers talking about, right? As to what percentage of people does bought it post your checkout page, after the new design, or however you want to do it, right? And then conclude it with proper statement. What are the learnings for you on this? Cool. So this is a practical case study for you to add to your portfolio. That's it for this session. And next week, we are going to talk about next step. Now that we have covered huge amount of things, right? We have covered what is design, we have covered what is UX design, we have covered research, we have covered how you should prepare for interview. I have just talked about the portfolio today. Now what, right? What should you do next? I also told you about how to apply for a job, right? But there are certain things which I haven't covered in the entire course in depth, right? I have not talked about usability in depth. I have not talked about accessibilities in depth. I've not talked about information architecture in depth, right? So what should you do for this kind of topics? That I'm going to talk about next week. I'll tell you how you should prepare for those stuffs, as well as I will conclude this course. I will let you know as to what are the confusions are. So all the best for that. I will open up this for questions now. Thank you.